Okay. Hello. My name is Kayla. Oh, the lights. Okay. Hi. Hi. Yeah, for those of you who don't know me, I'm really bad at public speaking, but I just really felt a tug on my heart to just share God's faithfulness in my life with you guys. So, here it goes. um, Growing up, it was just my sister, me, and my dad. My mom left when I was really little, and it left me with this just emptiness in my heart. But being so young, I just didn't understand what that feeling was. And so for so long, just me, my dad, and my sister were my whole world. My dad was at work a lot of the time, so me and my sister were just with different family members, which was kind of hard too, just to bounce around and never really feel like steady in one place. So when my dad met my stepmom, Abby, it felt like my whole world just came crashing down. I got really scared, and I began asking like all sorts of questions. Just what about my mom? You know, like first and foremost, what about my mom? You're just gonna forget about her? Is she my new mom? Is this replacement? And is she gonna steal my dad from me? Which awful questions, but you know, that's what you think. I still spoke to my real mom occasionally on phone calls, but those conversations were filled with so many empty promises that only deepened the sadness in my heart. I felt lost and isolated, feeling so many emotions that I just couldn't understand. And I was always such a quiet kid growing up, and I think it's because I was trying to process like all my feelings on the inside, which is pretty damaging as you get older. The one constant thing in my life was my dad. So the thought of ever losing him was one of my biggest fears. And if you guys have dads, you know what a dad does. He holds you when you cry. He lifts you up when you stumble. And they always encourage you to do better. And my dad was really, really good at that. Yet I just still couldn't shake the fear that he would be taken from me. And he had promised he would never leave me, and in time, my dad proved to me that he truly meant it. My dad was and still is my best friend. Life with a stepfamily was really hard. It felt like a first day at a new school, but literally every day. Just when you walk into that lunchroom and you have nowhere to sit, that is what every single day felt like. And I was just never fully comfortable. And I would just constantly overthink, like, what I would say, what I would do, how I would sit. Oh, do I eat this? Do I touch this? But in this rocky period, we got introduced to this church, Calvary, which, if you guys have ever been to the kids ministry in Calvary, is actually really scary. They force you to sing and dance and talk to everyone around you. It's not the most comfortable at first, but when you get older, you realize like it's really good for you. And so the ache in my heart began to mend the more and more I learned about these stories of Jesus, and just that I had another father, you know, that loved me even more than my earthly father was so good at showing me. I had never felt a love like this before, and for the first time, I had someone to confide in, someone that would never leave me, someone that would always be with me. And finding Jesus gave my life such a purpose that it had never had before. So this continued pretty steadily in my faith throughout middle school, you know. And then once I got into high school, it was kind of like weird to be religious, I guess. And like praying before I ate, nobody did that. So at lunch, I would just stare at a wall and like pray inside my head. So nobody knew that I was praying. And so I struggled with my faith and with my identity and just the people surrounding me. It felt like it was normal to not have a relationship with the Lord. So that's kind of what I got used to feeling, was like, oh, I'm still going to go to church with my family, but when I'm at school, like, I'm not a Christian. And this led me into the worst thing ever, which is being lukewarm, because I knew what I was supposed to be doing, and I wasn't being obedient to the Lord. So my senior year came around quickly, and I think this was like the hardest period of my life. And my old youth pastor called it my sad girl era, which he still makes jokes about to this day, but doesn't know that deep down it hurts. But I found myself in a relationship that brought out my worst traits. And if you've ever been in a relationship, which all of you guys are too young to be, it should bring out like happiness and joy and just what you feel with your best friend. Like that's how you should feel in a relationship. And I just didn't feel that, and I was so sad, and just it sucked, and you could fake it till you make it as long as you want, but if it sucks, it sucks. So my best friend Ella, who just always smacks the most sense into me. Sorry, I'm trying to like look at all your faces and I can't see half of them, so I'm just like, my eyes are wandering. Anyways, she just sat me down and just told me the hard truth that I didn't want to hear, and just asked me why I was with someone that made me so sad. And like, just hearing that was such a slap to the face. It's like when you think you're doing something funny and then someone looks at you and like, why are you doing that? It's like, oh, I thought it was a joke. It's not. It's actually really serious. And she said that to me, and I just instantly, my whole world was like stopped, because nobody had ever just been so brutally honest with me, and someone that knows me that well to just be able to care about me enough to call me out. And I realized that I was accepting a love, if that's what you would even call it, that was so much less than I deserved, because I was so convinced that I was just unworthy of it. And I felt so comfortable when I was growing up just in my sadness. So that was like my default feeling, was just, okay, if I'm feeling sad, that means it's normal for me, which is such a sad thing. Like, I realized that as I was writing out my testimony, and I started crying. I was like, wow, that's really sad. I'm not a sad person anymore. But getting comfortable in anything is a really dangerous thing, and a really dangerous feeling also, because your emotions deceive you so much, and just like your heart does. So don't do that. So that day that she told me that, after class, I literally broke up with him, like in the middle of the school day. And it was the craziest thing ever, but we don't need to get into that. And then I started to do things that brought me joy again, even though it was such an uncomfortable thing to like step out and like, this makes me happy, but other people aren't doing it, but I'm gonna do it type of way. And that just brought me so much fulfillment and happiness. And I also started to work on healing relationships that had broken in the past with my family and just friendships. And yet I still wrestled with feelings of unworthiness. So I just really decided at that point in my life that I'm going to take the gospel seriously, and I'm going to take Jesus seriously, because it is that serious, and that's something that you don't joke about. So after a lot of convincing, I signed up for my church's senior trip, and that's just kind of where everything began to change. I was just surrounded by the Lord's breathtaking creation, just free from all the distractions and worries of everyday life. And I'm not really big on talking about my feelings, because I prefer to listen to other people's, and just in that sense, just feel for people. None of you guys know who this is, but there's a leader here, and her name is Sissy, and she was so good at just prying things out of you. So just one night, she just kept asking me and asking me and asking me, so I finally opened up to her in a way that I had never done before, and just as I poured out to her, I just felt like such a weight lifted off my heart and off my mind, releasing me from like the chains that had bound me of my old life, just of everything that I have literally ever felt. Like, it just felt like I was being set free. And that's what Jesus does. Like, he breaks your chains and he carries them for you. And in that moment, I felt and chose to fully live in the unconditional love that God offers us. The love that is a gift given freely, even when we feel like we don't deserve it. After that life-changing trip, I got baptized. Yay! Thanks. Thank you, Jacob. It was the most beautiful, freeing, and just intimate moment I have ever felt in my life. If you have not been baptized, you got something to look forward to. And I just stepped into life as a new creation, just ready to live my purpose and truly be a disciple to Christ in my heart and in my life. I have now fully committed my life to Jesus Christ, striving to reflect his love each day. And I kind of wanted to encourage you guys because I was talking to this girl the other day, and she said she was waiting to be baptized until she felt like she was ready. And as soon as it came out of her mouth, I just jumped, and I was like, you are never going to be ready because we're going to fail every day. And we're humans, and that's what flesh is. But that's why Jesus lifts us up. And committing my life to Jesus didn't mean that all the hard things went away. If anything, they got harder. But you gain a heart for others in that, and you honestly gain a love that you can only get through Jesus Christ that is a love like no other. And I now have a beautiful relationship with both my dad and my stepmom. And being an outsider in my family hasn't gone away, but it's gotten easier for me to accept being uncomfortable. So yeah, that's all. But I want to pray for everyone now. So if you guys would bow your heads with me. Dear Jesus, I just pray over the hearts and minds in this room, Lord, of all these young people, Lord, that just have so much of their lives left to live, Jesus, that you would just be with them, Lord, in the mundane moments in life and in the trials and the tribulations, Lord, that they would just learn to lean on you, Jesus, because you're truly the only one who is going to save them. Lord, I pray that as they get older and go through high school and different seasons of their life, Lord, that they would just never forget your everlasting love, Father. And I just pray that through me, you touch some hearts and minds in this room, Jesus. And I just pray for fun as we go through the rest of this night, just in fellowship with each other, and that we would just love one another. And thank you for your love and for who you are, Jesus, and that you save us. And it's in your name I pray these things. Amen.